Welcome back to the Java with John program. We took a week off last week, and we're excited to be back here today. And we have a great lineup of guests to talk to you all this morning about what's happening in the town. And we are going to be spending some time with Matt Mostoller from the Acton Water District. Later on, Heather York, our public health nurse, is here. Sharon Mercurio, Council on Aging Director, is going to share some ideas and some thoughts, and maybe a poem if we have time. And we have Brian McMullen and Marty Abbott from the Assessor's Office. We'll be talking about some things going on in the Assessor's Office this summer and this week. So it's been a very busy summer here in Acton. Usually things slow down a little bit in the summer, but obviously they haven't here. And we're having a lot of challenges related to the COVID-19 pandemic that we're still working our way through. I'm very pleased to announce that this week we started providing takeout service at Town Hall. You can comment at Town Hall, and we have windows set up on both sides of the entrance on the back of the parking lot between 10 and noon. And you can use those takeout windows to access services that you would normally access at the counters, at the land use counter and the finance counter. So I'm really proud of our team to come up with a way to implement this program. And so far it's gotten some great feedback from residents, and I think it's nice for our staff too to be able to interact with our residents who we've missed doing that for the last few months. So of course, wear masks, be safe, but if you need to do town business, you can now come between 10 and noon and meet with our staff and conduct some business. So great news and great work by our team, and thank you for your patience over the last 3 months. So other things going on in town, the Board of Selectmen met earlier this week and finalized their goals for the year. They laid out a very aggressive agenda, some very important things that they wanted to do this year. Hold on, we gotta mute somebody. Somebody take care of that. And so the board laid out goals. The number one goals was related to creating a working group, a task force to address diversity, inclusion, and issues related to racial equity. So I'm really excited to get started working on that with the board. They've announced a step in that process, which we'll be publishing online soon, and we look forward to resident input as we move forward with that important matter. So COVID-19, as you all know, it's impacting our life, and we're trying to understand what it's going to mean for us in the fall. Families in the school system are watching very closely what the district is doing. They held a big meeting earlier this week, a public forum. And I know that the superintendent is holding several forums this month. They published a plan online for what their initial thinking is for what it's going to look like to go back to school this year. So if you're curious about that, I encourage you to check that out on abschools.org. Peter Light, the superintendent, will be joining this program, I believe next week, a week from today, talk about those plans and answer any questions that you all have. So, and it's all about public health. Public health is a major concern with what they're planning to do and what we've all been trying to do. So public health is Heather York's specialty. So Heather, Director of Nursing, please tell us what's happening, what's the latest on cases, and what other things we should know here in Acton about the COVID.
Morning, everybody. So currently in Acton, we have 181 cases overall cumulatively since March. 4 of those are currently under isolation still, along with their contacts who live in town and outside of town are in quarantine. 156 of those 181 cases have recovered. Unfortunately, there were 21 fatalities early on in the pandemic. Things going on in public health. There is a public hearing today. The Public Health Commission, Commissioner Monica Burrell had put in a request with the Public Health Council to make the face covering order that Governor Baker put into effect back in sometime in May. I don't know the exact date, but because they're looking to make it a regulation now, there is a public hearing at 10 a.m. It is available via Zoom. If you go onto the state website, you can look at the upcoming press releases, and it is in there if you are interested in watching. But the regulation follows what the original order was. that every resident in Massachusetts has to wear a face covering when in public, especially when they are in anywhere inside a building, whether it's a business that you work at or a supermarket, pharmacy, anything like that. You are required to wear that face covering. It is required for anyone over 5. They have stipulated that parents can determine for anyone 2 to 5 years old whether it's appropriate for their child to wear that face covering. There are exceptions for people who are using supplemental oxygen, anyone who has difficulty breathing and can't wear a face mask, anyone with a disability that can't tolerate the mask over their face, a face covering. And then obviously children under 2, it is not recommended because it can cause suffocation. They are putting specific wording into this regulation that talks about the exceptions, that if a customer comes to the grocery store, let's say, and says they cannot wear a face covering because they have a chronic breathing disorder or a cardiac disorder that causes their breathing to be difficult, they do have to let them in. But there's also wording about that they can keep people from entering a business if they're not wearing a face covering, if they don't state one of those criteria. So they're just putting that through, getting the public input, and hopefully that regulation, it's an emergency regulation that they're putting in place. And just to make the guidelines a little bit clearer, and especially I think because there's been issues with folks not being let into a building who do have breathing issues or mental health issues, disabilities that have been turned away, and people are a little upset about it. So it's spelling it out a little bit better, which is nice. My recommendation, if you do have a breathing disorder that you can't wear a face covering, a typical covering that's tight on your mouth, if you have to go into a store, if you could try to wear a loose bandana to at least have something covering the lower part of your face. It gives a little bit more airflow for anyone that has a breathing issue. They can tolerate it a little bit better, and it obviously can't be worn for long, but if you have to make a quick trip into the grocery store or the pharmacy, that is an option. If you cannot tolerate a face covering, you really should be having someone else do your shopping for you. So, continue to do all of the good things we've been doing. Wash your hands, face coverings, social distancing is a huge thing. If you can't socially distance, wear that face covering. Over here at 30 Sudbury, we have restarted our podiatry clinics with our podiatry nurse from Foot Care Focus, Sarah Kinghorn, which is exciting. Yesterday was the 3rd clinic. We are doing extra precautions, obviously, as we are opening to do those healthcare services that we haven't been doing within our building. Our secretary will call people ahead of time, assess that they haven't been sick, assess that they haven't traveled or been around anyone. When they enter the building, the same questions are asked, fevers are taken, hands are washed. And then she does a follow-up call 3 to 4 days later, again, asking the same questions, making sure that no one has become sick through the weekend or been exposed that they know of in that time frame that they were here. So we're excited that folks are back and coming in. It's nice to see all the faces that typically come in, every month or so for those appointments, which is really, really great. I think that's it for me. Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks for the updates. It's nice to hear the podiatry is back in business on a limited basis and safe basis. So if you're just tuning in live, we're live right now on 94.9 WAEM. This is the July 24th Java with John program. Our next speaker is Sharon Mercurio from the Council on Aging. Sharon, what's new?
Hi. First of all, thank you, John, and thank you, everybody, for doing this program. I think it's been such a great way to reach out to folks that may not be connected electronically or to technology. We've had over 2,000 hits on YouTube, so people are watching, and I think it's great. So thank you for doing this, John, and thank you, everybody, for sparing some time on a Friday morning. Just wanted to remind people that the Acton Council on Aging is on Facebook. So Chris Chirokas, our program coordinator, has been updating our Facebook page at least a couple of times a day with different photos, updates to what's going on at the COA. We had people sharing their gardens, and this month we're going to be having people, or this coming month, we're going to have people share some of the projects they've been doing while they're home quarantined. So that's been fun to watch. Also wanted to remind people that we've been working collaboratively with Open Table. So once a week we get frozen meals. They're free of charge. They're for any Acton seniors. Just give us a call. We can set up a time for you to drive through and we can pop it in your trunk. We also worked with Minuteman Senior Services and got some meat boxes. This was earlier in July. We do still have some of those. One is more pork hot dog based, so the alfresco sausages, some breakfast sausages and hot dogs. The other one is chicken nuggets and mozzarella sticks. So if you're interested, again, free of charge, just call the senior center and we'll set up a time for you. What we're doing this week, we're bring your pet to Zoom. So that's going to be July 29th at 2 o'clock. We'll have the link on our website, or give us a call. So bring your pet. We want to see who's keeping you company these days. I know 3 of the staff that I know of, we've gotten chickens, but I don't think I'm going to bring my chickens to Zoom, but thought that was interesting. Also wanted to let folks know that we do have connections with both Acton Boxborough Honor Society students, and then United Way has some students that are available for tech support. So if you keep hearing about Zoom and you're curious and you want somebody to help walk you through it, they can do so over the phone. So give us a call. We'll match you with a student and they can kind of walk you through it. It's not that bad. And then just another reminder, we're getting some feedback from folks that Town of Acton emails are being sent to their spam box, so they're not receiving email updates from us or Zoom links when we try to send them out to our seniors. So I spoke with our IT department, and they were saying it's really because some of these providers, Verizon especially, kind of has us blocked because they're getting like kind of mass emails from the Town of Acton, so we look like spam. So if you're waiting to hear from somebody or you haven't received an email from the town and you're waiting for it, look in your spam folder. There's also a way to unblock any mail coming from the Town of Acton. So we will have those directions in our August newsletter, but you can allow our domain at actonma.gov, and that will prevent our emails going to your spam, and you'll be able to keep up to date with things. So that's all I have for now. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Sharon, for the updates and for the IT support over Zoom. That's very helpful stuff. So our next speakers are Brian McMullen and Marty Abbott from the Assessor's Office. I mentioned earlier in the program that we've started a takeout service at Town Hall. The Assessor's Office is taking it to a new level, though, a next level. They're not just providing takeout service, they're providing parking lot service. So Brian and Marty, why don't you tell us more about that and some of the other things that are happening in the world of assessing?
Thank you, John. I just want to thank you for this opportunity to speak to you this morning about this exciting program that we started. It was really Marty Abbott's idea, but as you can imagine, with COVID-19, it has presented some challenges for us. And one of those challenges that we're very sensitive to is being able to meet with our seniors. And so we meet with our seniors on a regular annual basis to discuss their property tax exemptions. We help them assist in filling out forms, going over their tax papers. So Marty had this great idea of saying, why don't we open up the parking lot and maybe we can set up a tent and a canopy and have some tables and chairs, and we can practice social distancing, and we can have a sneeze screen between us and the citizenry, and we can accommodate them. And I said, it sounds like a great idea to me. So we started that. So Marty started meeting with our citizens, primarily the veterans first. During the month of July, we had certain dates, targeted dates and times. She sent out a notice to them all in the mail, so they were well aware of the dates and times. And the very first day, we had almost 50% of our veterans show up and sign for their veterans exemption. So it's been very successful. And so we're excited about that. And I have Marty here on the phone with me, and I don't know if she has anything else she wants to say or her personal experience in dealing with the vets, but I'll let her speak to that if she can hear us out there, Marty.
I can hear you, and thank you. Thanks, John, for inviting us. It's really just taken off, and it works, and I'm so glad. And the veterans are so pleased. They get to see somebody and sign their cards. And I've also had 2 appointments outside helping seniors with their other exemption forms. So as long as we can keep doing this, it's a great thing, and we get to see the people. I also want anybody who knows if they cannot get to the town hall, I can stop at their house. I'm not allowed to go in, but I can go over and get signatures. So I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity, and I think it really took off, and it's going great.
So thanks, Marty. So one of the other things I wanted to mention as well is James McGray, our VSO, Veteran Service Officer, also provided some information at those tables, some handouts to provide some additional information and services that James provides and how they can contact him and get in touch with him to find out what benefits he offers veterans. So that was important. Some of the senior tax relief programs I think that we're going to offer, we're going to continue to provide this service. So those folks that receive senior tax exemptions, whether it's widows or widowers, some of those folks that are having a hardship situation, we're also going to accommodate and continue to provide this service out in the parking lot. We're going to kind of elaborate and expand this service out there, and we're going to be having additional hours in August. So we're going to have several days a week, I think for 2-3 hour time slots. And so we'll be putting that information out as well. And so we encourage people to call us, make appointments, or drive up. It's a drive-up service. So if we're available, we can speak with you. We'd prefer an appointment, only to so we don't have lines or we don't get backed up, but we'll accommodate as best as possible. So we're really looking forward to that. It's exciting, and it's working, and it's good. And it's a way we can, again, interact with our citizens. I also want to mention that tax day is August 1st, and that falls on a Saturday this year, which means tax bills aren't due until Monday, August 3rd, so you have 2 more days. So we are also, John, as you had mentioned, we have that finance window, the collection window that's open as well. So folks feel comfortable coming by and they want to make their payment in person, we're going to accommodate that too at the window. So a lot of good, exciting new stuff going on at Town Hall.
Great work, and thanks for all your efforts, Brian and Marty. And just for the listeners at home, the phone number to call for the assessor's office is what?
That's 978-929-6621.
Okay, and then if you forgot that number, hopefully you can remember the Acton Services Town Hotline number, which will get you to the assessors if you don't remember the assessor's number. And that is, as you all know, 978-929-6619. So thank you, Brian and Marty, and great job. When's the next time you'll be out there? Monday? Or today?
On Tuesday this week.
Tuesday. All right, so look for Marty on Tuesday. Thanks again. So our next guest this morning on the Job with John program is Matt Mostoller from the Acton Water District. The Acton Water District is in charge of the water supply for our community, and although we're not the town of Acton and the Acton Water District are separate governmental entities, we work very closely on a lot of things, and we have a great working relationship, and I'm very pleased to have Matt here with us this morning to tell us what's happening with the district and everything else related to water. So Matt, welcome to the program, and thanks for being here.
Great, thanks for having us, John. So over here at the Water District, we're having a very busy summer. As many people are probably aware, we recently sent out a mailing regarding PFAS, which are per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. These are an emerging contaminant group, which we voluntarily sampled here in Acton before the state of Massachusetts regulated them. And I just want to talk a couple things that we've been hearing from members of the community on are regarding what do people need to be doing related to the discovery of these contaminants? First, I just want to reiterate that we're really focused on a sensitive subpopulation of citizens here in Acton, which are pregnant women, nursing mothers, and infants. The health studies that are available right now really indicate that that is the group of concern. In order to reach that group, we did have to send our notice to over 10,000 postal patrons in Acton, so everyone received notice of it, but really it's those folks in that sensitive subgroup that need to be thinking about concerns related to PFAS. We've been taking a number of actions to address it. One, we've made some changes in operations to our South Acton water treatment plant, which provides about 45% of Acton's water. We're pending some results from our lab. I actually have my email open here. I was really hoping that they would come in and we could have a late breaking news article here on Java with John, but unfortunately we're still waiting for that next data set. We are beginning to take actions at our North Acton treatment plant, which had our highest concentration of these compounds. That facility is currently offline, but during the fall of 2020, we will be testing out new filtration techniques and then installing and constructing those to remove the PFAS at that site. We do have a pretty helpful website that we've created, actonwater.com/PFAS. You can certainly go there, and many questions that you may have can be answered there. You can also sign up for updates by sending an email to wq@actonwater.com. And what that does is that actually sends an email to me and it flags it, so I know that it's PFAS related, and hopefully it doesn't get lost in the shuffle of our day-to-day here. Other things that we've been doing beyond PFAS, we did break ground recently, about a week and a half ago, on a new treatment facility in Acton Center that's going to treat our Conant wells. So we're excited for that project to be moving forward, and that's anticipated to be completed around this time next year. We've also been working on a solar project. So water treatment and delivery is a very energy intensive process. So we've been working since approximately 2015 to bring solar arrays to 2 properties that we own off of Losbrook Road and Knox Trail. And the Losbrook Road project is hopefully going to be breaking ground this coming fall. And part of that is going to benefit the town of Acton through a payment in lieu of taxes payment that will generate some revenue for the town of Acton, while we also produce electricity at those sites. The final thing I want to touch on today is drought and our current lawn watering ban. So the state of Massachusetts has declared a drought for the entire state. Acton falls in their northeast region for drought, and we're currently in what they consider a stage 1 drought. So we do have a lawn irrigation ban in place. But one of the things that is important to note, even though we just had 2 inches of rain in the past 2 days, the state of Massachusetts is in a several inch deficit for precipitation in the current calendar year. So certainly folks should be mindful of that. Even without our issues concerning PFAS, this would have been a challenging summer related to outdoor water use. So we do continue to ask folks if they have ways to conserve and cut back on their water use. Certainly the summer of 2020 is a great time to do that. And other than that, we're just continuing to pump the water. We've been working through COVID-19 as an essential service. So our staff has been here working in some capacity since March. Fortunately, we're all healthy, and we have been able to continue to provide the water for all the hand washing that Heather has been encouraging, and we're continuing to provide these essential services.
Great. Well, thank you for all the updates. I think I was curious when I was in the rain yesterday, if we get 2 inches of rain, how much of that actually will make it to the water supply? Is it half of it? Or is it just a percentage of it? Or is it all of it? Or is it, we don't know?
Yeah, so that's a great question, John, and it's really going to vary throughout town. So one big determining factor there is how much impervious cover there is. So if there's things like buildings and pavement or compacted soils, that water is going to flow off and be directed to surface water bodies. So it doesn't really help the groundwater. The other issue is when we have a big, heavy rainfall all at once, it doesn't have as much time to soak into the ground either. So we don't benefit quite as much from these types of rainstorms. We like long duration, gentle rainfalls that have the most impact on groundwater levels.
Great. Well, thank you. It's interesting, and thank you for keeping us informed of everything that's happening with the water district and with that concerning new issue that we're talking about with PFAS. And I know we're going to continue to hear from you on that this summer, and as long as we need to, and anything we can do to help here in the town, please let me know.
Absolutely. Just as a reminder, for folks that all of our drinking water does come from the ground. So every decision that we make from a land use perspective and development perspective can have an impact on our groundwater resources. So that's a really important component that the town has control over that can really assist us in doing our job here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we're now at the portion of the program of the Java with John episode where we take questions from the public. People could call in 978-929-6619, or they could email us. We have received a few questions so far. You can also use the YouTube chat feature if you're watching on YouTube to put a question in there. But the first one we received is from someone that said, my financial situation has changed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm having difficulty paying my taxes. What options are available to me? That question, I think, Brian, can you help us with that question?
Yeah, sure, John. That's a great question. So we have many programs here at Town Hall for various situations out there. So I think what we'd want to do is to have kind of an interview. So if we could have those folks reach out to us, whether it's through email or through a telephone call, we'll kind of triage the problem, go through it, and find out if we have something that will fit their needs. Whether it's a temporary need or more permanent, we have programs that can address those needs. So we definitely want them to have to contact us directly. And that, again, that phone number is 978-929-6621, or they could email the assessor's office at assessors@acton-ma.gov.
So that reminds me, Brian, I think last year, I mentioned goal setting earlier, and last year one of the goals of the Board of Selectmen was to better promote the tax relief programs available to seniors. And I think when I saw you recently, you mentioned that we had a good year for that. Is that something that we can announce this morning, how we did with exemptions last year?
Yeah, John. So that's great. So we've had a very good fiscal 20 season for promoting tax exemptions. And when I ran the numbers that I need to submit to the state, it looks like we're up about 15% from last year. And so it's really good. One of the programs that's been very successful and seems to be taken off a little bit more is the Circuit Breaker program. And so the Circuit Breaker program piggybacks off of the state Circuit Breaker. So if you have filed for and received the state Circuit Breaker, you can speak with Marty and I, and you potentially can get up to 50% reduction in your annual tax bill between the state's reduction and the town's reduction. It's been very successful, and we want to continue to have folks continue to look at it and to contact us, and let's discuss it. So it's been very, very successful. Thank you.
Great work. Did you say 15 or 50?
15, 1-5. I wish it was.
That's still a great improvement. So nice work. We have another question here from a caller. This is a curious question. Brian, is that a boom box behind you? And what is in the cassette deck?
So folks that don't know me very well, but I've been in town for 28 years. So that's probably 28-year-old vintage boombox. That's correct, with a cassette player. So good observation.
You didn't answer the whole question. What cassette is in the cassette deck?
Okay, let me check.
All right. Any other questions while Brian's doing that investigative work? What is it, Van
It's
Halen? Empty?
It's empty.
All
It's
right.
empty.
All right, we'll bring you in some. Well, thank you. Thank you for all of our guests for all of your great information this morning. Very thoughtful input on what's happening in the community. And I think it's a great way to reflect on one of the speakers today by end with a poem with a similar subject matter. So Sharon, please close us out with a poem.
All right, so it is getting a little tricky finding poems. We thought we were just going to be doing this for a couple of weeks, but so I went with Matt from the water department as inspiration, something with water. This poem's called At the Beach. I look out over the water as far as my eyes can see, and I feel a peace come over me. All of the stress of my day seems to slip away as I listen to the sound of the waves splashing on the shore. How can I ask for more? But God, if you will, please make time stand still, for it seems no dream is out of reach when I'm here at the beach. And that's by D.A. Bonjean.
That's a nice poem, and I think it's a beach weekend, so hopefully people can find a way to get there. Thank you all for your participation in this program, and I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.